The sentiment on the street right now is that Bitcoin is dead. But is everyone missing something? Because the biggest asset manager in the world is no longer asking whether Bitcoin is too risky to own. They're saying something completely different. The real risk is in not owning Bitcoin.
I think the conversation shifts from, is this too risky for us, to actually, is it risky not to hold any?
But here's where this Bitcoin Wall Street narrative takes a dark turn. Because just a few days after this clip, BlackRock, Strategy, Fidelity, Coinbase, and some of the largest companies in Bitcoin announced a new consortium to fund Bitcoin developers and to prepare for new threats in the future. So let me ask the obvious question. Are these institutions here to protect Bitcoin? Or are they slowly just positioning themselves to influence it? This is the biggest development happening in Bitcoin this week. Are BlackRock, Strategy, and Coinbase trying to use their power, money, and influence to protect Bitcoin and make it more secure? Or is there something deeper going on behind the scenes? I'm also going to give you a tip. If you're worried about the big corporations or the US government stealing your Bitcoin, well, we're going to show you an easy fix so you can avoid your coins being stolen by the man. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. Before we get into the serious stuff, y'all know that I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. Eagles, Phillies, and the 76ers. What does this have to do with Bitcoin? As you all know, the king, LeBron James, just signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. For 2 years, $8 million, $4 million a year. That's less than some kids are getting paid for NIL these days, which is insane. But the most important thing about the news that Shams or Adam Schefter or Woj didn't announce is that LeBron has a great correlation with massive Bitcoin returns. When he went down to South Beach in 2010, you can see Bitcoin took off 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. When he came back to Cleveland and he upset the greatest team in history in the Golden State Warriors, during that time frame, Bitcoin exploded. When he went to the Lakers, it's been pretty good. So what's about to happen these days? LeBron is basically on the Mount Rushmore of Bitcoin. Satoshi, Hal Finney, Saylor, LeBron. The chart doesn't lie. And if you want to be even more bullish, let's get to some real numbers, like $1 billion flowing into Bitcoin ETFs over the past week. Up until Thursday, there were 7 consecutive sessions of net inflows. ETF flows are bullish. BlackRock publicly promoting Bitcoin is bullish. Institutions getting off zero is bullish. Bitcoin treasury companies continuing to stack more Bitcoin is bullish. Digital credit being adopted as a form of investment currency for people that want dividends in an investment portfolio that aren't held in junk bonds, that is bullish. But here's where the narrative turns dark. Because Wall Street has seen how Bitcoin has padded their pockets. And if you've experienced a hit of that juice, well, do you want it to stop? And how can you continue to maintain those profits while you start to influence Bitcoin from the inside out? And this week, there were 9 major financial companies to fund and join this Bitcoin consortium. BlackRock, Fidelity, Coinbase, Strategy, Arc, Block, Blockstream, and Galaxy, and Anchorage Digital. Together, they pledged $15 million, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, to fund Bitcoin developers and other projects. The consortium says it will not function as a governance body, or that it won't take direct positions on Bitcoin development or propose any changes. Each organization is going to independently choose their own developers and which projects and things they want to support. But when you read the actual tweets of what it is from Strategy, I've got some questions. The Bitcoin Security Consortium has 2 primary goals. Fund and support the developers and researchers already securing Bitcoin. Inform the broader conversation about Bitcoin security so it reflects the actual state of the work. As long-term holders, we have every incentive to see Bitcoin remain secure for generations. Funding the people who do this work and helping inform the conversation around it is a natural way for us to contribute. The Bitcoin Security Consortium's first focus is quantum computing. Now, why would this be their first initiative? We've already heard that quantum computing is so far out, and there's other small changes that don't require millions in development and funding specific developers to fight against this. But this seems to be the main focus of topic. Although Nick Carter is the biggest doom and gloomer and FUD spreader out there right now in the crypto community, he might have some merit about this whole US government trying to fund quantum computing along with large corporations to steal Satoshi's coins. Listen to this clip.
Also, what will happen? I sincerely believe that, which is I think there will be a salvage effort for the coins, probably led by the government. They're the best equipped to do it. Maybe a private sector company will get there. And the reason I think that'll happen is because I think the US has the lead in quantum. So I think a US company with certainly there's industrial policy happening now. So with the stewardship of the government, we'll build the first quantum computer. And one of the first things they'll do, because it really matters, is salvage all the Bitcoin, put it in a trust. Anybody who owned it before the salvage can claim it back. And that's, I think, much more tolerable to the Bitcoin community than, fork to freeze the coins. I don't think that'll happen. Even if it should, I don't think it will.
Mm-hmm.
It might. Now that we have a consortium, maybe things.
We're not suggesting anything about that.
I know.
So if a future threat puts millions of coins at risk, the question is, how do you fight against it? How do you fight against the US government funding quantum computing and then, in doing so, going after a large amount of coins in Bitcoin, maybe for a strategic reserve or for some other geopolitical reason? Well, the community is going to have to step up and make decentralized, centralized decisions. It's not just the developers, it's not just the miners, it's not just the node operators. This is a messy topic. And that's why these large corporations are trying to have a hand in it. It's always egalitarian, it's all for everyone on the surface, but there's always a profit incentive or motive. Fong Li said it himself. But what happens if the US government or any one of these large corporations are able to build a computer that's effectively able to hack and steal Satoshi's coins? Well, that opens up a whole set of other can of worms and questions. But lucky for you, we've partnered with two people to help you fight against this future. One of the first ways that you can remove this threat of the big banks, the big brother, the big corporations stealing your Bitcoin and having control over your assets is, well, you don't give it to them. You're a sovereign individual, you stack in Bitcoin and you borrow against your own Bitcoin stack. You don't go to the traditional credit markets, you don't go borrow against someone else. And for that, you can use Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Borrow against your Bitcoin stack with no capital gains. You can repay at any time and your Bitcoin is not rehypothecated. They've been the leader since 2018. They've issued over $10 billion worth of loans to tens of thousands of people all across the globe. Get fiat in your account in less than 6 hours and stay sovereign. Don't let the big corporations take your Bitcoin, be your own bank. And another way that you can continue to maintain your sovereignty, well, is to run your own node. Own your own keys, know how to do it safely, securely, and properly, and make sure your family members also know how to do that. Well, don't go through that alone. Get a coach from the Bitcoin Way. Members of their team will walk you through step by step what you need to do if quantum ever becomes a threat at all. Schedule a meeting with the team at thebitcoinway.com/partner/Dante-Cook. They'll hook you up. So what should you do if you're worried about BlackRock, Coinbase, government stealing Satoshi's coins and eventually creating a quantum computer so powerful enough that it will not only be able to attack legacy and old Bitcoin addresses, but new ones as well? Well, Fred Thiel gives us a pretty good idea of what you can do, and the fix is easy.
The threat of quantum is a real threat to Bitcoin wallets. In the near term, by that I mean 5 to 10 year, it's not a problem for the ledger, it's a problem for the wallets, and only a subset of wallets. Mm-hmm. And so I think there are better ways to deal with that issue. Part of it is time lags on trades for certain wallets, but all of those are actions that require the community to essentially all of a sudden become a central authority and do things, which is an anathema to the Bitcoin community, which is all about decentralization. And so my personal belief, this is not Mara, this is just Fred, is that if you have Bitcoin in a wallet, and that's one of the early legacy wallets, just go open a new wallet, move the Bitcoin to a new wallet, and never trade leaving Bitcoin in the same wallet you're trading in. Always create new wallets. And that way, your public wallet address will never be known. And you really don't have an issue. If you've forgotten the keys to your wallet, you can't access that Bitcoin anyway. So if somebody else steals it,
just move your coins. Whenever you're about to spend Bitcoin from a new wallet, don't spend it from your pot of Bitcoin. Move it to a new wallet first. Don't trust exchanges, hold your own Bitcoin. Take self-custody, have responsibility. The beauty of Bitcoin is that it does give you full sovereignty. But one of the risks of it is that you can actually lose your keys. But is there a bigger risk of using a custodian when you could become your own? History's never given us that choice or that opportunity, and Bitcoin does. But we have an even bigger idea in this episode. And the idea is this: information and protocols want to be free, and so does money. Jensen Huang finally got on Twitter. He finally got off zero and he got off an egg and he created a profile. And the very first tweet that he talks about is about AI and open source models being important for the future of the world and America maintaining the dominant position in AI and in compute. One of the things that he talks about in his paper is that how the internet has been one of the greatest forces for good all around the globe, creating wealth, prosperity, and freedom of speech for people because it's open source. Same thing is true for money. And that's the choice that we have right now. Bitcoin is money that wants to be free, not controlled by consortiums or governments who, if they can't control Bitcoin, they're going to control the developers. They're going to control the laws, the Clarity Act, the people around it. They're going to be able to curtail and surveil something that they can't control. And this is where we are. The Fraternal Order of Police, the largest law enforcement agency in the country with 382,000 members, just pledged their support for the Clarity Act. But it had a couple caveats. Their idea is that they would have more funding for state and local crypto investigations. They would have access to blockchain analytics tools, that they would be able to have a new cyber center, and a requirement for stablecoin issuers to be able to freeze, retain, seize, burn, or recreate tokens at their discretion. What does that actually mean? Where does that start and where does that end? It would be crazy if there were bodies and organizations that said, you could do this, say this, be this, act like this on the internet, but not do this, say this, be this, or act like this on the internet. We would think that's totally foreign and crazy. But yet somehow we permit it and allow it with money. Bitcoin is the only opportunity, the only protocol, and the only platform that we have that allows us to have open and free money that other people can build on and that will create freedom for people all across the world. That's the big warning. That's the big highlight from this episode. Money wants to be free, and so does information. And the question is this security consortium really about open money, open platforms, open protocols, or is there something deeper going on? I think that Blockstream, Strategy, Galaxy, Arc, all of these organizations are actually for the good of Bitcoin. But when you have misaligned incentives, you get misbehavior. So we're going to have to watch this closely. But in the end, I do think that having good corporate citizens involved in open platforms like Bitcoin overall is going to be good. But what do you think? Is there something nefarious going on under the scenes? Or are they actually trying to secure and protect Bitcoin? Remains to be seen. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so. We drop fire content like this 7 days a week. A lot of you watch this show, but don't subscribe to it. And a lot of you just buy Bitcoin through exchanges because that's all you know. You didn't know that you could actually just send your money to an organization like SAS Mining, and they will mine Bitcoin for you on your behalf. You don't have to repair machines, host machines. They just send sats straight to your wallet. Get started by using the QR code with SAS Mining today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.